This is Local Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance. He's back. His name is John Moorlach. He is a member of the California State Senate. I admit we love having him on our program. It's good to see you, sir.
Well, gosh, I'm coming back again
Exactly. I want to speak with you about the minimum wage. And we know in California, the governor recently signed a piece of legislation that is increasing the minimum wage in steps. It will go to $10.50 in 2017 and peak at $15 in 2022. What do you make of this proposal, sir?
Well, the original Jerry Brown 1.0 said this would be devastating for the state budget. It would add $4 billion in additional costs. He opposed it vehemently in his budget, in all of his writing.
Well, what about
and then on Easter Sunday, we find out that he's kind of interested in doing a change, and Thursday of that week, we have a $15 minimum wage, which is a 50% increase. Overly dramatic.
But wait a second, what about when he signed it? Didn't he make a statement stating that, well, I don't know if this is a good idea, but I'm going to sign it?
Well, what does he care? He's not going to be governor in 2022.
But he's...
So his successor has to deal with it. So it's got me enjoying an anxiety attack, because I kind of want to be here in 2022 as well. I'm planning, as a senator, be here for a few terms. And so we've just started this weekend doing a 10-year forecast. No one does this. The state doesn't have a 10-year strategic financial plan like we did at the County of Orange. So you can kind of see what your decisions will do. So you increase that minimum wage $1 every year.
Here's the challenge, and you know this. You're a student of politics. You're a professor of politics. We were going to have an initiative on the ballot in November that was going to be even stronger than this. And when you look at what voters have done with minimum wage initiatives, in the reddest of red states, they're passing them. In Alaska, in 2014, a red year.
Brad, I would appreciate
Arkansas.
it if you were not pragmatic.
Nebraska, South Dakota.
But yeah, certainly a lot of young kids or, big segment of the society votes, and they like to vote against the rich, right, or help themselves. So the ramifications and the reverberations of this thing are rather dramatic. Costs will rise. So we've got 40% on poverty.
But I'm
incomes,
wondering, sir.
And how many of those are seniors who then can't afford to go maybe to the restaurant?
But I'm wondering, sir.
Because things just will go up exponentially. I had one accountant send me an email that said, I have a spa, 30 employees. I was going to open a second one, but by having to raise my wages, I have to raise my prices 20%, one, to cover the cost, two, to cover the payroll taxes, insurance costs, everything predicated on what payroll is. And then I've got to price it because I'm going to lose clients. So I got to bump in for what I'm going to lose in business so I can get the same bottom line. And he says, I was going to open the second spa, I'm out.
But here's the thing. I wonder, though, if this is better than what we would have received with the November initiative. I mean, we do
negligible difference, Brad. Brad, we're arguing now. The difference between what was going to be on the ballot and what Brown signed is negligible. It gives you one more year.
One more year.
Peanuts.
But you also, employees...
And yet, how much does he have in his campaign account?
Well, but...
20 million?
But
10, 30?
So are you saying maybe he should have campaigned against it?
Absolutely.
But, okay.
Because he's just destroyed his financial legacy. He was the adult in the room for the last 6 years. He's the one who set up the rainy day fund. He's the one who's gotten our budget in line. He's actually been reducing our unfunded net deficit, our unrestricted net deficit, and now it's going to go out the window.
But wait a second.
And so he's ruining his legacy, because when you look at, say, in-home support services, they're at minimum wage. And so that's just going to be a massive cost, plus all the related payroll taxes, the Medicare, the workers' comp, all these, and then you got wage compression, so everybody else that is above has to be bumped up. So we're talking serious dollars, serious deficits coming up on the horizon.
I must ask you, though, we do have a presumptive Republican nominee named Donald Trump, and he recently called for an increase in the minimum wage. I mean, he recently said that he doesn't know anyone could live, I think he said, on $15 an hour, if not what the minimum wage is today. I mean, these are crazy times.
Yeah, but we're not talking about people that need to live on a minimum wage. I mean, one group is, but I'm not. I mean, I'm talking about high school students that are coming into entry-level jobs. You're going to see so much automation at the McDonald's already in Europe.
So this brings up an excellent point. You bring up a very key point, although I do want to go back to Mr. Trump. In the state of Oregon, a pretty blue state, what they did is they created a scenario whereby there was a tiered system for their increase in minimum wage. So in Portland, their largest market was the highest amount. In their mid-sized markets, it went down a bit. And in their rural areas, it went down even further. And so...
It sounds like they didn't take 4 days to figure that out.
It sounds like they didn't. And so what do you think about kind of... Look, I don't know if this can be undone, if that's your goal, tiering our minimum wage.
I think that would be a good first step, because our rural areas are going to have a difficult time with this.
Another challenge that we see with regard to this minimum wage is the inflation kickers.
And another problem is, you cite Oregon, but Seattle. What has happened to Seattle?
They have a high minimum wage.
What's happened to Seattle since it was implemented?
I don't know the answer, sir. I don't know.
The number
They're
of
at $15 starting in 2017.
working in food-related, restaurant-related industries has declined since the minimum wage. So at the end of the day, are we helping people, or are we hurting them by having higher unemployment?
You bring up a good point, which is restaurants. That is the industry that seems to be, I'll say, according to certain economists, at greatest risk with the minimum wage increase. And so is there anything that can be done to address that specific industry?
I don't know, but I do know this as a CPA who had the privilege of having clients that ran restaurants. Right. Their net revenue, their bottom line is very, very small. It's not unless you're selling a lot of alcohol, you really don't have a big money maker. Like grocery stores, you have a really low net profit. So when you take the biggest expense, which is staffing and payroll, and increase it 50%, you're going to wipe out that small margin of profit, and you're going to start creating deficits. And it's like, well, what then has to rise? The price of foods, the price of meals. So then what does that do to those that are on a fixed income? Because Social Security recipients aren't going to see a 50% increase in their Social Security benefits. So what's going to happen to our senior population, which is growing, by the way? So you look at the big picture and say, okay, the unions, the public employee unions put this on the ballot. They used their union dues that state taxpayers pay for, and they manipulated the governor saying, our polling shows that you can't beat this, join us. Brilliant, but it's going to be a financial cluster in a few years. I'm just saying.
Would you have supported a smaller increase to the minimum wage?
I don't know. This tick-tacky thing. I think we need to focus on how do we get someone who's got 3 kids making minimum wage, how do we get his skill sets improved? How do we get this guy into a better paying job? Or how do we create more jobs that he's more valuable somewhere else who will be willing to pay him more?
Would it help?
How do we encourage the economy to take care of this in the natural process so that he's not being felt like he's just being assisted, or he's actually earning it on his own based on his own merit.
Would it help if there was a national increase in the minimum wage? Mrs. Clinton and Mr. Trump both seem to suggest they want that.
Well, now we're getting into maybe a macro,
right?
And where does a minimum wage fit in? Mm-hmm. And maybe the answer is it depends. Mm-hmm. It depends on whether you're Portland or whether you're Bend, Oregon. Maybe there's so maybe a bigger discussion for an 8-hour seminar.
Let's do it. I do it with you.
But why is the government interfering with the marketplace? Other than we should be able to take care of the abuses, but we shouldn't be hurting everybody to fix a problem in 1 or 2 industries. I think it's dangerous.
His name is John Moorlach. He's a member of the California State Senate. He represents significant portions of Orange County. My name is Brad Pomerance in Sacramento. This is Local Edition.